Welcome to Man Transformation. Welcome to Man Transformation. When I say the word transformation, I mean something very specific, but it's something that's hard to describe. I could use some words to describe it, but you wouldn't really get it. So that's why we're going through this program. That's why we're going to spend dozens of hours together working to help you understand what transformation means. And to begin with, I have a thought for you. Your mind has you by the balls. Your mind has you by the balls. And your balls have you by the mind. Now, what could I mean by this? I mean, your mind has you by the balls because you're out of control of your mind. You do not direct your own thinking. You simulate reality. You walk around in a dream pretending that you're awake, pretending you're in control of your thinking and your life. We all do. And your balls have you by the mind because that deep part of your brain, that primal part of you, and your balls that create all these chemicals that run through you, they're actually directing a lot of your thinking. They're pulling the strings behind the scenes and driving things and creating the context for your life. You're not even aware of it most of the time. And once in a while, when you do become aware of it, when we have that moment where we wake up for a second and we go, oh man, I am out of control. It's so freaky, it's so weird, it's so disturbing, we have to just repress it and push it down and not look at it. It's too hard to face. Your mind has you by the balls. Your balls have you by the mind. Who can admit that their mind has them by the balls? Good, good. And who resonates a little bit with the idea that their balls have them by the mind? Farm? Thank you. After 10 years now of studying this area for myself, and 7 years plus teaching, it's actually a lot more than 10, but 7 really focused on learning it for myself, 7 really focused on teaching it. I've developed a powerful reverence for the entire human mating process, a lot of respect. Think about it for a second. Just think about how many people had to get together and figure out how to mate so you could be here. Think about the natural process that had to go on that allowed that to happen over and over and over. And what I've learned by learning to respect the process more and to have more admiration and reverence for it is I've learned that it's something that is controlling us, it's very powerful, it's running our lives, it's acting as this context that I just described outside of our conscious awareness. You may have heard me in one of my other programs talk about how when we go to approach a woman, we get this feeling like we want to talk to her, we want to run away, we want to freeze, and we don't know which one to do until we learn to overcome that. But for some reason, there's a universal process that comes up in men where we go over to talk to her, we feel this drive, this something inside of us that wants to communicate, I'm unique, and what I have to say is original, and my compliment is something you've never heard before. We all want to come across as being special and different and unique. Well, at this point, I kind of think that maybe that desire to be unique, maybe that drive to be an individual is even from the factory. If you just had an aha, you might want to write that one down, because that could guide you a little bit in this program. Is your drive, is your desire to be unique and original and an individual? Is that something you thought of? Or is that something that we share in common? Maybe there's a little hardwiring, or maybe even cultural conditioning in there. So maybe our first figure ground shift, maybe our first little bit of perspective change has to do with not trying to game the system, not trying to just figure out the technique or the trick to get a quick fix. Maybe our first step is to revere and respect this amazing process that we are part of, that comes naturally inside of us, naturally inside of women. And when we have respect for it, respect for the power, maybe then we can start to transform a little bit. Maybe then we can start going to the next level, just a little bit. You're going to hear me talk a lot about the three brains. Okay, this is a model that I like. It's something that's worked very well for me. Paul MacLean's triune brain theory. Okay, if you've watched my advanced dating techniques program, which I hope you have, you've heard me talk about the reptile brain, the mammal brain, the thinking part of the brain. Well, I'm going to suggest something to you. When the reptile is seeking pussy, you are completely out of control. When the reptile, that part of your brain, that oldest part that's concerned with power and survival and sex, when that's seeking pussy, you're totally out of control. Who has ever been in the middle of one of those out-of-control episodes where you just can't stop thinking about it, and you thought, I wish I could turn this switch off for just a minute so I could breathe? Yeah. Not something we want to admit to ourselves often. It's a little weird to even suggest. So when our reptile is seeking pussy, what we do often is we tell ourselves a story. We make up this story in our mind about how we thought of it, about how, no, this is something I want to do. This is something I'm intellectually interested in learning about. It's fascinating to me, like a science project. That's why I'm so fascinated with it. I want to know the mechanics, the logic behind it. Maybe not. Then you stack on top of the reptile, the mammal, seeking acceptance and approval, unconsciously. And by the way, is there going to be a conflict that you're going to be creating, or a little bit of weird tension if one part of you is seeking pussy and the other part's trying to get acceptance? And the logical part of you, this doesn't make any sense to, so it's got to make up a story about why it's happening. So one little crack in the egg that we can start with is the idea that we really are out of control when those things are happening. And I don't mean out of control in the negative sense, like I'm insane and I might kill someone. Stop me. I just mean that we're out of control, and we need to face that it's a natural, powerful process that's happening. We're part of something much bigger than just us. And instead of feeling alone, like I'm the only one that this has ever happened to, I'm the only one that's felt guilt, and the only one that's ever wanted to just have sex with it's okay. It's all right. We're all part of this. We've all been through it. And if you relax and realize that being a little out of control, that's how you got here. It's how all of our forefathers and grandmothers got here. All right, so let me ask you this. From your perspective in your mind, are you basically, for the most part, I mean, generally speaking here, are you mostly in control of yourself, or are you mostly out of control of yourself? Honestly, what do you think, really? How do you feel? Are you mostly in control or mostly out of control? Out? Do you really feel mostly out of control in your whole life? No? Some people feel in control? Who feels like they're mostly in control of their life? Okay, good. So most people feel mostly in control. Let's try a little experiment then. Just for those that feel mostly in control. Okay? What is one thing that you should do every day of your life that you're not doing right now, every day? Think about it just for a second. What's one thing you should do? Something that takes 30 minutes or less. Might even take 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes or less. Just don't yell them out, but just think about this for a sec. What's one thing? Write down right now one thing that you should do every day. Only for the people that feel like they're mostly in control, by the way. If you feel mostly out of control, you can skip this or you can play along. So write down that one thing that you should do every day. Good, let's take it to the next level. What's one thing you should do every day that if you did do it every single day for a year, your life would definitely be better? It would definitely be a lot better. There's no question. In fact, it would be the highest priority thing in your life. You should be doing this every single day for at least 1 year, but you're not right now. And you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that your life would be incredibly enriched if you did this one thing. Write that thing down. Okay, good. Again, mostly in control people. If you really feel like you're mostly in control. If you're mostly in control and you should do this thing every day of your life because it's going to enrich you at the end of a year beyond anything else, here's what I'd like to ask you to do. I'd like to ask you to write out a check for 1 year's salary. 1 year's salary. Not to me. Make it out to an accountability partner, a friend, and say, here's what I'd like you to do. I'm going to email you every day and report back that I did my activity that day. On the one day that I don't report that back in the next year, I want you to cash that check and spend it all immediately so I can't have it back. And buy something that depreciates very quickly so the money is gone. I mean, we established that you should do that every day. There is no more important thing to be doing every single day. And you are mostly in control. And if you're mostly in control, there's no problem. I mean, you definitely will do the thing every day, right? Because you're mostly in control of your life. So writing the check, it's just kind of an afterthought. It doesn't even, right? You just, of course, because I'm going to do the thing every day. Who's going to do that? Who's going to write the check for a year's salary? Back there? We got a couple over here? 3? I admire the hell out of you 4 guys. And if you actually do that, if you write that check and you make that commitment, I want you to tell me about it. I want you to send me your story, and I will put it in a newsletter, and I will send this out to the world. A lot of people are going to hear about it, though. So be careful. 4 people raised their hand, and we've got, 330 people in this room. How many people raised their hand when I said, are you mostly in control? 300 of them? What's going on here? Are we basically in control or not? I think that we're not in control most of the time. I think that what's controlling us are the habit patterns that we've laid down, the habitual patterns of movement, of emotion, of thought, of interaction with other people. I don't think that we're in control most of the time. I think we could maybe stop ourselves from doing something really stupid most of the time, okay? But I don't think that we're really in control. The conscious part of us is in control most of the time. So in a manner of speaking, what I'm saying is that power, your power, comes from your penis. And when you're not in control of it, when it's controlling you, that's when you're handing your power off. It's not about a technique for approaching a woman getting a pickup line. It's about taking control of yourself so that when you're interacting with women, they don't have that unconscious feeling, this is someone that's not in control of their life, and they're trying to pretend like I don't have the power. But I actually know that I'm carrying their dong around in my purse. Now, what you'll notice is that even when you take back the power, when you reign in your own power, women will still test you, they'll still push. In fact, they'll even test harder and push harder because they're like a sonar system. They're like a submarine pinging. They're trying to find any hole in the armor, any chink, to see how much they can trust you, to see how respectable you are, to see what level of character you have. And this radar that women have, this is not something that they read in a book. Okay, this is part of that amazing process that I was talking about before, this mating process that we revere. They don't wake up in the morning and say, okay, let me think of another way to make sure the guy really is in control of his penis. Okay, they don't sit down and list these things. They don't get together and go, oh, I've got a great new shit test. Here. And share them with each other. They just know. And when you're not in control, when you respond like you're not in control, that's when more of them come. Anyway, they're still going to come, even when you reign in the power. But that is a great sign, because the more they come, the more you know that you're on the right track. And finally, when you control the power of your penis, more evolved women, the kind of woman that you would want to have a long-term relationship with, that's the kind of woman that will be attracted to you most. One of the things that we go through is learning a bunch of techniques, and we're going to cover a lot of techniques in this program, but we go from, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, to, I've got to get some control, so teach me a couple of techniques. We learn some techniques, we start creating some attraction with women. But then if we don't realize there's a point past that, we get stuck in the techniques, we get stuck in the game of it all, and we lose sight of the reality that this is a continually evolving process, and there's another level of evolved woman. And that if you want to have a woman in your life that is going to stay for a long time and that you're going to really have a lot of satisfaction and developing fulfillment with, she's not going to like the guy that's doing the techniques. That woman doesn't like that guy. That woman sees that guy coming from 100 miles away, and you will never meet her. When you do, she'll have a different persona on, and she'll be doing things that you won't understand. And you'll look for a technique. How do I get through that? How do I get her number if she says this? This is the kind of thing, this and some other things that we'll be talking about, this is what flips that switch on and helps that woman recognize you and see you. And the irony of it all is that that woman that I call a total 10, a 10 in every way, on the inside and the outside, beautiful inside, beautiful outside, evolved, mature, emotionally stable. She never wanted that power over you in the first place. She didn't want it. In fact, it annoyed her when you were trying to give it to her. And if you're in a relationship with that woman and you don't have control, and some part of you is trying to get her acceptance and approval and you're out of control of the penis, she'll start getting upset and you won't know why. She will start feeling anxious and nervous and argumentative. And it'll get blamed on a million things, and you'll get into some argument about who left the cap off the toothpaste or a million other things. The irony is she didn't want that power in the first place. And she'll resent you if you give it to her. It's important, if you're studying this program at home, that you follow along and you do all the exercises and write everything down and move when I tell you to move. Get into it. Write this down. Mind myself in the program. Mind myself in the program. If you mind yourself in the program, mind yourself into the program. You take what I teach you, you act on it, you do the exercises, you get outside your comfort zone, and you contribute to others. This is very important. You contribute to others. You contribute to somebody else, someone else who is in this development process. You will reach a point where you understand yourself at a level that you didn't think was possible. You will have more power in your life. You will have more influence over other people. You will get more of what you want. You will achieve the results that you want to achieve, and you'll attract the people that you want to attract. You'll hang out with amazing people. They will be attracted to you. Cool men, amazing women. If you mind yourself in the program. If you do not mind yourself in the program, if you allow your mind to wander, if you fantasize, if you cross your arms and go, that's not for me, you're going to do something that's worse than wasting your time. You're going to move further away from the objective that you want. It's going to be counterproductive. If you do not mind yourself in the program, what you're going to find is that your issues are going to become worse. You're going to get further from attracting the types of people that you want into your life. They're going to be repelled from you. You're not going to reach the outcomes that you want. You're going to move further from them. You're not going to achieve results. And you're not going to have power. You're not going to have influence over other people. So, who can mind themselves in the program? Mind yourself into the program. Okay, good. Okay. Another thing that I want you to do is I want you to engage. I want you to fully engage. I used to be the guy at live seminars that I went to who would sit there, I'd sit in the back. I still do this because I still think that I'm kind of the cool guy sometimes, a little too much. Sit in the back with my arms crossed, just kind of listen, think, that stuff's for them. I get it more than the average person. I'm a little smarter than the average person. I don't really need that stuff that they're learning. I'll take notes once in a while and, but I don't really need to be with them. What was I doing when I did that? Well, one of the things I was doing is I was not engaging. I was outside of engagement. I wasn't in the flow. I wasn't in the mix. I wasn't in the energy. So I'd really like to invite you to engage. Suspend argument and disbelief. Put that stuff outside. When we're finished with the program, turn all that stuff back on. Okay, I want you to be an intelligent, critical, logical, rational person. I want that for you. But for now, we're in learning mode. We're taking a detour. We're in the twilight zone. We're in an alternate universe. We're going in and we're working on ourselves. We don't need that part of you that's trying to prevent everything from happening, stop anything from changing. So I need you to engage. I need you to uncross your arms. I need you to lean forward. I need you to get involved. So do this quickly. Go into the body language of I'm the cool guy who's sitting back and I don't need to learn what you're teaching right now. What's your version of that? How do you behave? Really, do it. Get into that body language. What is learning? Anyone know what learning is? Anyone think they know what learning is? Do you think you know?
The accumulation of knowledge.
The accumulation of knowledge. That's almost the opposite of learning, but good one.
Behavior change.
Behavior change. You're looking at the screen.
No, I heard you on the phone.
You heard me on the phone. Oh, okay, on the teleclass before this. All right. Thought you were looking at my monitor, you hoser. Where are you from?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles? See, it's those LA people. I knew you must have been from around here. Actually, I didn't. I just was curious. So learning is behavior change. That's what learning is. When it changes your behavior, that's when you've learned it. I learned this from my friend Wyatt Woodsmall, by the way. One of the smartest people alive in terms of psychology, human behavior, motivation, maybe the smartest person that's ever lived. So our definition in this program Learning is behavior change. Learning is not, I can parrot it back to you. Learning is not, I understand it intellectually. If it didn't change your behavior, you haven't learned anything. In fact, if you've just accumulated knowledge, it may be pushing you away from learning. A realization, a concrete understanding of something, an aha, where you go, oh, now I get it, and then you behave differently, that's learning. Now I can quote back to you the words that you've told me, there's no learning there. No learning has taken place. In fact, that's just that simulation that I talked about that you're walking around in, thinking that it's now a little more in control, and now I can game the system a little bit better, and you. What is learning? When it changes your behavior, you have learned. Until then, you have not. And I'm really not interested in getting into debates with you about whether something logically makes sense, or, well, wouldn't this happen, and all that kind of stuff. That's just your emotional bullshit coming up and preventing you from taking action and learning and getting some results in your life. You've learned it when it's changed your behavior. Stop intellectualizing and act. Another thought, don't believe anything that I say. Don't believe any of it. And don't doubt it either. Many of us are so conditioned to have information come into our minds and argue with it or doubt it, or we've got to mess with it in some way. It's either I believe it or I don't. Do I accept it? Honestly, I'm getting to the point now where I don't believe anything anymore. Why don't I believe anything? Because a belief is a trap just as much as it is a liberation. You may have heard me quote Tony Robbins says in one of his books that he learned from John Grinder, who started NLP. John Grinder said to Tony Robbins, he said, don't believe anything too much, because there will always come a time when it's not true. You'll always wind up in a situation when it's not true. So don't believe anything that I tell you. I'm not trying to convince you to believe it. I don't care whether you believe it. It will not influence or impact me or my life at all whether or not you believe what I'm saying. And in fact, I don't want you to believe it. What do I want you to do? Try it. Experience it. Do something with it. Play with it. See if it works for you. If it doesn't, throw it out. It doesn't matter. Throw it out if it doesn't work for you. But don't just intellectualize about it and decide whether or not you believe it's true. I've met too many men who say, well, you know, that just doesn't make sense to me. If you do it and it works and it doesn't make sense, are you going to not do it? So we're going to center around a few key ideas. I'm going to give you a quick little preview into what's going on in the program. First key idea. We are asleep, and we don't even know it. Totally out of control. We're in a shared dream that we're all fantasizing that we're having, and we think we're awake. And you are as much asleep right now, relative to where you could be, as you are in the middle of the night when you are dreaming, compared to this particular waking state. Number two, we live in a simulation of reality that we have created and have lost touch with the basic experience of life. We live in a simulation that we have created in our head, a map or a model, and we act on that, not on reality, and we've lost touch with our experience. We have a myth or a story. This is number three. We have a myth or a story, each of us individually, that shapes our perceptions. It shapes how we see things. It shapes our perspectives. It's something that's come from the early part of our life. We don't even remember where it came from anymore. A combination of our wiring, our early imprints, our impressions, our learnings that we got when we were younger. And that is our story for everything. We're not aware of it, and we can't escape it. Number 4, waking up, having more awareness, being more conscious of ourselves and what's going on around us. This is the most important key to success with women in relationships. Waking up, becoming more aware. Number 5, in order to change, we must get outside of our comfort zone. Change does not come from being inside your comfort zone. That's not where change happens. It happens outside, over the boundary. Number 6, in order to get outside of our comfort zone, we need to build a base of safety and security. That's our foundation. So we have an inner strength and centeredness so we can go get outside of the comfort zone. Number 7, we must face that which makes us uncomfortable directly. We must face that which makes us uncomfortable directly. Face it. Look it right in the eyes. Number 8, we must understand that attracting and keeping a total 10 requires a level of authenticity and honesty that we do not yet have. Attracting and keeping a total 10 requires a level of honesty and authenticity that we do not yet have. A new level. Number 9, the things that attract and keep a total 10 are not what you think they are. They're something different. They're things that are outside of your awareness right now. You don't know that you don't know them. You need to learn a new way of thinking, a new paradigm, not something that you can get in a technique. So the things that attract and keep a total 10, they're not what you think they are. They require a new way of thinking. And number 10, in short, in order to develop yourself to the point where you can attract and keep a total 10 in your life long term, you must transform yourself. You must go through transformation. Transformation. And the interesting thing about transformation is that there's no way of knowing what it is where you are. You can't conceive of your next level from the level that you are at. Transformation is transcendent. It's beyond where you are. And you only get there when you get there. You don't get there by simulating it in your mind. I'm going to give you a couple of quick lessons that I've learned in this 10 years plus of studying attraction and relationships. Here's one of the first ones. Men who are single-mindedly obsessed with getting laid are empty people. That's what I find. And the women that they tend to attract are usually unhealthy energy vampires. That's the reality. On the other hand, men who enjoy women, men who enjoy being around women, dating women, flirting with women, going out with a lot of women, but who have found their place in this world, who have found their purpose, if you will, their path in life, who have found their passion, who have found what they love to do and what they're here to contribute, those men, it seems, attract a different type of woman and have a different level of satisfaction with life. And of course, interesting benefit, they tend to attract really amazing women, almost as a little extra bonus. I advise you, don't settle for a quick fix in your life. If you're ever doing something and you're frustrated and you don't know what to do and you get a quick fix for it, don't settle. Ask yourself, why did I get frustrated? What was it about me that had a need to be bothered? And go follow that path. Don't settle for quick fixes, okay? Increase the level of challenge in your life regularly. Ratchet it up a little bit at a time so that you're forced to increase your level of skill a little bit at a time. I got this from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote the book Flow. Increase your challenge, increase your skill. Increase your challenge, increase your skill. Don't idealize about reaching some point or event where you'll never have to do anything again. That's not happiness. The people that I know who that's happened to got rich, made a bunch of money, got lucky, and then said, that's it, I'm retiring. Within 6 or 12 months, they say, I'm bored, I'm depressed, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Ratcheting up the challenges in your life a little bit at a time and then ratcheting up the skill level. This is long-term joy, satisfaction, fulfillment. That's where it comes from. So the format of this program, just quickly, I'm the inner game guy. That's what I like more than anything, is the inner game. I'll give you some good techniques too, but I'm going to focus inner game. That's what the first third, maybe 40% of the program is going to be. Intense inner game stuff. And I've got about 12 or 15 of the greatest trainers that I've ever met that are going to come and teach a lot of techniques. They're also going to teach a lot of great inner game stuff. But for the first part, I'm the inner game guy. Expect the techniques and the how-tos a little bit later in the program. Just kind of psychologically prepare for that. And finally, you are responsible for participating. This is all about you. You individually. You're here to get yourself to the next level. And ultimately, this program is for you. And I want to make it great for you. So participate, be involved, engage, talk to other guys about what their experiences are. If something comes up for you, share it, talk about it, get into it, get into the flow, get outside your comfort zone, do things that you haven't done before. Okay, so let's start with a small transformation of perspective. What are the biggest frustrations you're facing right now when it comes to attracting and keeping women? And what do you think some of the biggest challenges we're facing as men when it comes to attracting and keeping women? Good. Yell a couple of them out. What do you think some of the challenges are? Not funny.
Meeting qualified candidates.
Meeting qualified candidates. The mind.
Resenting her power.
Resenting her power.
Failing tests.
Failing tests. Getting into the friend zone. Giving away your power. Keeping them interested over time. Good. Incongruency. Composure. What do you notice about all of these different concepts and ideas? What are you noticing? Just think about it. Challenge yourself. What are you noticing about all this?
We want to look cool.
Most of these ideas are external, technique-oriented, situational, or they're nominalizations, the mind. You'll notice that when you ask questions like this, what's the big challenge you're facing? The answer usually isn't, I haven't discovered the way to get myself to do the things I need to do to get the success that I want. They're typically, the mind, the emotions don't typically go right to taking full responsibility for where I am in life, 100%, and taking full responsibility for the idea that I need to get myself to the next level. So if that's not where your mind goes automatically, How are you ever going to follow that path? When you're in a situation and a woman shuts you down or something happens that is emotionally traumatizing or you're too scared to go, talk to a woman, how are you ever going to get to the next level if that's where your mind automatically goes, to some external thing or situational or so forth? So let's turn the question around a little bit. Where have you become comfortable in your life to the point where it's getting dangerous? You're so comfortable in your ways that you may never be able to change it. Where are you getting too comfortable? We all have somewhere like that. All of us. Where are you becoming too comfortable? Where would you like your life to be? What other level would you like to get to? But you can't figure out how to motivate yourself and get yourself into action to get there. Where are you blocked? Where do you have a block, or what Fritz Perls called an impasse, where you're avoiding, where you just, something comes up for you every time you try to go there and you can't get past it. You're blocked. Where are you blocked and you need to find a way around or through that block? Where do you need to unblock yourself? Where are you blocked internally, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically? Where are you blocked? Where is there a block that you can't get through? And finally, let's get a little bit of fuel here. Why do you want to transform yourself? Why do you want to go to the next level? What's your reason? This is where motivation comes. Your why, the outcome that you want. Why are you doing this in the first place? There's a moment that we reach in our lives as men, and women reach this point too, but I'm just talking to men right now. There's a moment we reach in our lives as men where we say to ourselves, I'm going to do this thing no matter what it takes. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care if it takes 5 minutes or 5 years or the rest of my life. I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. What's your reason why that gets you to that point? That gets you to the point where you will say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to figure this out. And I don't care how long. It doesn't matter how much time, effort, energy. What's your reason why that gets you to the, I will do whatever it takes? Once you get in touch with that, the rest of the stuff just becomes the details. But you got to be in touch with the why. And if you don't have one, you're going to be like the proverbial ship without a rudder, just tossed around at sea. If you don't know, that's okay, but you need to figure it out. You need to find it. David Data recommends figuring out your life purpose. We'll talk a little bit about that in this program too. That might help you. But what is your reason why? Thank you. So we're going to do an exercise right now that I think is very important. It's going to help us wake up just a little tiny bit. We're going to do a few little quick mini exercises as part of it. I call this exercise being lived. You might want to write that down. Being lived. Consider for a moment that your lungs breathe on their own without you paying any attention to them. Your blood flows through your body. You couldn't control it if you wanted to. Your eyes blink. Your emotions are triggered. Most of the thoughts that come up, most of it is happening without you doing anything. And on a molecular level, there are such astounding and complex and miraculous processes happening all the time in your body. Millions and billions of times per day. It's astounding when you even just sit in awe and think about it. It's all happening on its own. You, in a sense, are being lived. Notice for a moment that you're alive. We don't often reflect on the idea of being alive and all these things happening inside of us, and we didn't create any of it. It's just happening. It's like we're along for the ride. It's like jumping in a roller coaster in the front car, and as you're going through it, you're like, wow, this is great, I'm having a lot of fun, or oh, this is terrible, I'm not having a lot of fun. But there's a real sense of that you can get when you realize, oh, I'm alive, I am being lived. I'm going to take you through a couple of the exercises that woke me up to this idea. Sit in your chair comfortably. You're going to be closing your eyes, so you might want to sit in either a straight up position or kind of lean back in a comfortable position in your chair. We're going to do a quick breathing exercise. I learned this from Andrew Weil. He calls this being breathed. So just close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths in consciously. Now, as you keep breathing in and out consciously, slowly, intentionally, I'd like you to imagine shifting, inverting. And instead of you moving your muscles to breathe in, the universe is pushing the air into you, and then what you are doing is pushing the air out. So imagine that the universe is giving you CPR. And see if you can get a feel for what it's like to be breathed. So as you inhale, imagine the air being pushed into your lungs and you're just relaxing to take it in. It'll require a little bit of muscle effort. You're still going to have to move your abdominals. But just see if you can get into that. And then as the air is going out, it's being sucked out of you and you're pushing it out. Just breathe like that for about 2 minutes. Who is able to get just a little bit of a feel for what that feels like to be breathed? It's a good relaxation exercise. Keep practicing if you weren't quite getting it. But you can get the sensation that you're just relaxing and the air is being pushed into you and then it's being pulled out of you. And you're almost resisting as the air is being pulled out. That's the first part. That's just a little exercise to start shifting. Another thing that woke me up to this idea was an experiment that Einstein talked about, which was going for a walk, and instead of experiencing himself as moving relative to the earth, as he was walking, he experienced the earth moving, and he was still. He was just moving his feet. Stand up. Now, this is going to be a mess, okay? Just want you to know that. But what we're going to do is at the front of the room, it's going to be going this way. And in the back of the room, it's going to be going that way. And what I want you to do is spontaneously, if you're closer to the back of the room, walk toward the back. If you're closer to the front, walk toward the front. And I want you to make one lap all the way around the room and then go right back to your chair. Don't talk to anyone. Silence during this. I'm serious, total silence. And walk quietly. And see if you can just kind of look at the floor and see if you can get into imagining what it would be like if you were standing still, but this room was moving around you. Go. We're just doing a few things to kind of shift our mindset a little bit before we look for the bigger realization. Sit in the position you were in when you were relaxing and being breathed. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 3 breaths. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4. We're going to hold for a count of 4. We're going to breathe out for a count of 8. And we're going to hold for a count of 4. And then we're going to start over. Breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Breathe out for a count of 8. Hold for a count of 4. Does that make sense? We're breathing out half as fast or twice as slowly as we're breathing in. You're going to do that for 3 breaths. What I'd like you to do during all 3 breaths is focus only on your breathing. Just focus on your breathing. Don't think about anything. Don't feel anything. Just focus on your breathing. A couple of thoughts came into your mind, probably. Who had at least one thought pop up of some kind during that exercise? Okay, good, almost everyone. So what's going on? We can't just relax our mind for a minute or two? Are you thinking? Or are you being thought? This process of life that we have has been going on for a long time. A lot of generations got you here. Automatically, outside of your awareness, outside of your control. So what I'd like you to do right now is write down 3 areas of your life where you are being lived. Things that are directing themselves on some level, but you didn't want to admit it in the past. Where are 3 places in your life that you are being lived, you didn't want to face or admit it in the past? Write them down. Things that are directing themselves. It's almost as if you're a spectator in it.
Christopher Powell from Australia.
Hi, Christopher. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. The one that really struck me is sexual desire. It seems to flow,
Yeah.
and I'm really driven by it, and then it goes, and then it flows, and it goes. It's not like I'm controlling it. It's running on its own rhythm.
Your sexual desire comes and it goes, and it has its own
It's like the
flow,
ocean. Yeah,
its own pulse.
absolutely.
Thank you. That's a good one. I've been looking at the moon a lot over the last year. You know that women's monthly cycles are related to the moon. There's a connection there. And no, I'm not talking about some weird new age thing here. Okay? Just like the tide, the moon actually pulls on it. There's a lot going on that we don't know about. Men go through our own daily and monthly cycles as well. We would never want to admit that one or even know anything about that. Or why do we have nipples? Let's just, you know what? Let's stop that one. I know a woman who has an extra set. Have you ever met a woman that's got the other ones here, the dark spots? You ever seen this before? I'm getting way out there right now. But apparently, there, a significant portion of women, they have their main nipples and then they have kind of some smaller dark spots and then another set here. And they think that it's left over from evolution where they had some, okay, I'm gonna stop. I get it. I need to just get off that one entirely. But why do we have nipples? Okay.
I feel you, Dave.
You feel me?
I do. I know where you're coming from, sort of.
Okay. We're on that page together. Whatever page.
I'm Chris from Washington, D.C., and although the 3 things I pulled out are sort of dissimilar, they all share something in common. It's your desire to be unique versus what's really socially constructed. Body image is an example of one of these. Body image can make you unique, but you're basing that on a uniqueness, that already exists and already constructed sort of thing. The career goal is like that. Hey, I want to make a lot of money and be unique, but wait, someone else already thought of that.
I noticed that you said body image is one of those things. And then you said, when you're thinking about it.
Yeah, but it's not actually something you created for yourself.
What about for you? Or is this one of the things for you, maybe?
It was, a crutch, but then when you finally realize that, you can transcend.
When you finally realize it?
For yourself, like why you're actually so committed to your physical fitness. When I stopped playing sports.
There was the transition.
Yes.
You just switched from you and yourself to I.
Okay. Wait, stop me where you picked that up?
What?
What's the difference?
I'll let you think about that one. We'll be coming back to this one more than just now. Think about that. Did you hear when he said body image can be one of those things? And when you have it, and it's you and yourself, and then he switched to I. We all do that all the time. Whenever you find yourself saying, well, when one finds oneself doing one thing.
I just noticed, I was actually just talking to Jose, we were sharing, and I just noticed really what affects me a lot, and I'm kind of being lived through, is my friends and the people that I keep closest to me. And some of them are really lazy and aren't positively affecting me, and I need to start reaching out and finding better friends that will keep motivating me, while at the same time I'm motivating them, so you can actually see their personality mirroring, sorry.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it was really aha for me.
Good. That's a big one. So you notice being honest about how externally influenced he is. That's a huge breakthrough. Yeah, that's even a bigger one than we were trying to get here. So that's a big one, noticing how your environment and the people around you. So thank you. That's a good one. Thank you for that one.
From Boise.
Say again?
Greg from Boise.
Yep.
And I'm a compulsive consumer. I spend out of control.
Compulsive consumer.
Yes.
You spend out of control. Okay. Thank you for sharing that one. I can tell you were getting outside your comfort zone a little bit walking up to that mic right there. So let's give him a big hand for getting outside of his comfort zone. You know, I almost feel like this is turning into a 12-step program in the first session here, okay? And I think a lot of what goes on in 12-step programs, which are amazing programs, is that we're coming to grips with we're maybe not as in control of ourselves as we think. And figuring out what that thing is going on behind the scenes can be very empowering.
David Delgado, Chicago. My big aha, what I got was similar to what this gentleman was talking about. My concern about friends and family trying to save the world financially, concerned about their problems, amplifying their problems, and not worrying about myself.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Did you notice the language there? Not worrying about myself. Not worrying about myself. What do you do about your friends and your family?
Help them out financially.
You worry about them.
Worry about all the time.
Right? So do you hear just a little bit of the story? The story is worry. So instead of worrying about them now, you're going to worry about yourself.
Absolutely.
Worry is actually maybe part of the challenge. The worry is maybe where you're being lived and you're not aware of it.
Oh, exactly. That's the big
It may
aha.
not be about them or about you. It may be that your script is worry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay Ellis, Washington, D.C. I noticed that in two areas, with women and dating and also with money and finances, I learned all these skills, and now I screw up in bigger ways. Like, I still have the same pattern, I'm still messing up, I've just got more power to do it bigger.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Cameron from Anchorage. This was not on my list, which kind of surprised me. What happened was I was sitting over there, and there's an odd number of people right around me, and everybody paired up, and I was left out. I realized that I was okay with that and actually expected it. I've always seen myself as an outsider, and I've never thought of that as something I could control.
Thank you. I don't share this story very often, but it just seems appropriate. I had a mentor years ago. His name was Jerry. And Jerry really hammered me on the issue of character, about being authentic, about getting in touch with me, who I was. And he would ask me, who is the real guy? Who's the real you? And at first, I didn't know how to respond. And I was at a time in my life where I was a little bit more into kind of image and persona and being thought of as the cool guy. I've still got those issues, but I was a little more there then, concerned with the superficial stuff. And Jerry just kept hammering me and saying, no, that's not the real you. That's a lie. You're tricking yourself. You're tricking everybody else. And it really freaked me out because it was the first time I'd had someone challenge me at that intense level, just really whack me and say, you're screwing up in life because of this. This is screwing your life up. So thought about it a lot, and I finally had an aha, had the realization. And I thought back to when I was in middle school, and I would go to the middle school dances, and I would stand up against the wall and not talk to anyone. And I would watch everyone else having fun, and I didn't just go join them and have a good time. I wasn't part of that group. And what that gentleman just shared, that was part of my story too. That's why I gave him the high five. And I realized that I was creating that because that was my script. That's who I was. I was the kid that stood back and didn't participate. I was on the wall. I didn't get involved. And I'll tell you that standing right here, right now, is as far from what I could have imagined myself doing early in my life as one could have expected. I mean, it's astounding. When I think about it sometimes, when I'm here and I'm talking, I remember, I go, what the hell are you doing up there saying that stuff to those people? But I could only be here because I started there. And then I realized it. And then I did what it took to get to the next level. So what's required for change? What level of commitment is required for change? A little bit? A lot? There's a great book out that I've been talking about a lot lately called Change or Die. Change or Die. And in this book, it proposes a little bit of a startling idea. And what Change or Die says is most of us can't change even if we want to. And that in various studies, they're starting to find that when people go into a doctor and the doctor says you need to change your lifestyle or you're going to be dead in a year. You need to quit smoking or you're going to die. You need to stop eating the way you're eating or you're going to have a heart attack. A year later, 9 out of 10 cases, the person hasn't changed their lifestyle. We can't change even when we want to. Even when we're faced with death, we don't change most of the time. I have my own little struggles where I'm trying to change in my life. I'm working on doing something differently. One that's a fun one, I was also just talking about this recently, was I live in an apartment building. I live in a 17-story apartment building. And I have 2 apartments in the building. One I use as my office, and one is my apartment. And one's on the 17th floor, and one's on the 13th floor. And it's a long apartment building. It's, this is a pretty wide room. It's wider than this room. And so I can go out, go to the middle of the building, and take the elevator down to the 13th floor, or up to the 17th, depending on which way I'm going. Or I can walk right out the door, and within a few feet is the stairwell. And I can just take the stairs quickly to the 13th or to the 17th floor. Now, as it turns out, it's faster to take the stairs, because waiting for the elevator takes a long time. So it's faster, and it's better to take the stairs. It's better for me. Exercise built right in. So if it's faster and it's better, it only makes sense that I should be taking the stairs every time. Well, when I first moved into my building, I would take the stairs sometimes, take the elevator sometimes. I was pretty stoked on the idea of taking the stairs. It was the right thing to do. And then one day I finally realized, you know what? I don't know why I'm doing this. I should just make it kind of my rule of thumb. I take the stairs every time. But I had already started taking the elevator sometimes and taking the stairs sometimes. And there was a part of me that was a little lazy, that was like, but I made the call. I'm just going to do it. And somehow I still found that I'd walk out the door and be pulled toward the elevator. And my mind would say, let's just take the elevator this time. That'll be easier, we'll take the elevator. And I'd kind of catch myself and think, what's going on here? My mind automatically went to pulling me toward the elevator. And I already made the decision, I know it's better, it's faster, So then I kind of got control of that, and I'd walk right out the door and go into the stairs. But then if I was carrying something, I'd walk out the door and go, well, I'm carrying something, I should take the elevator. It's hard to take the stairs. And I'd say, it's a little bag. It's like Now, I'm mostly past this now, but there are still moments where I walk out the door and maybe I'm carrying something that's kind of medium-sized, and I go to the debate. There's still a part of me way back in there that wants to go take that elevator for some reason. It's spooky. We all have these, of course. Where do you have one of those in your life? It's just wired up that way. So an idea that I like to share with you right now is called making success inevitable. Making success inevitable. There's a lot of interesting thinking out there about creating results, getting yourself to change. This is one of the ideas that I actually teach in some of the business courses that I teach. It's an insight that I had a couple of years ago. Until now, there were two main ways of achieving results, of achieving success. One of them was goal setting. And that is still the main way of achieving success in most circles. Goal setting, I think, was popularly introduced maybe by Napoleon Hill in the book Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, read it. Get the new one that they've published, which is the original version. They took the original version and revised it. All the ones we've had up until recently were all modified. Go get the original one, read that. And Napoleon Hill talks about visualizing your outcome, knowing the outcome you want, saying the affirmations, essentially what we now call setting goals, creating a clear picture of the outcome you want, burning it into your mind, churning up your desire. So that was one way of reaching success. And the other way is called problem solving. Bob Beal wrote a book called Stop Setting Goals If You'd Rather Solve Problems. You may have heard me talk about this. And so we've got goal setting, and then we have problem solving. As it turns out, something like 80% of people don't resonate with setting goals. They don't like the idea. It doesn't feel good to them. They're more interested in solving problems. They'd rather solve a problem than set a goal. Who, just on hearing it, says, yeah, that sounds like me. I would really rather solve problems than set goals. Raise your hand. Good. Well, we need both of these muscles, actually. We need to learn to both set goals and to solve problems. So for goal setters, what we do is we start here, we look out into the future, we imagine the goal we'd like to create, and then we imagine the steps we need to get there and get ourselves all revved up and get ourselves motivated. All great processes. Problem solvers, on the other hand, need to go out into the future and imagine we've already achieved the thing and then look back and say, okay, now what are the problems I would have needed to have solved in order to reach this place? Two different strategies. Goal setting, problem solving. But it struck me that there's a third way. There's another way of achieving success. And I call this inevitability thinking. Inevitability thinking. Goal setting's great if you can get yourself to do it. Affirmations are great if you can get yourself to do them. But it's not that easy to change behavior. It's not that easy to get yourself to do the thing you need to do consistently every day. Problem solving it's wonderful. Figuring out how to solve little problems can really make a lot of gain for you. On their own, I mean, these techniques are just techniques, but they can be very powerful. The question I asked myself is, how could I make it so that the outcome I want to achieve is inevitable? It's not a goal that I'm going to work toward. It's not a problem that I'm going to figure out how to solve. It is something that I'm going to realize inevitably. How do I create inevitability? And I think it's an interesting question to ask. When you ask yourself how to create inevitability, how do I make it so that my outcome is inevitable? Your mind goes down a completely different track. A whole new set of ideas start coming up. When I say, set a goal and achieve it, you'll set the goal, you'll write down the steps maybe to get there, maybe you'll get yourself motivated. But there are all of these things that could come up, contingencies that might happen, get you off track, get distracted, screw you up. If I say, okay, well, figure out all the problems you need to solve in order to get to the place you want to get to. You'll list all your problems. You might start solving the problems. You might find more problems to solve. Again, you might get distracted, taken off track. If I say, how can you make it so that your outcome is inevitable? That's when you start taking care of all those potential unknowns. Inevitability is about conditions. It's about setting up the conditions so that what you want to have happen happens automatically. The first person that put me onto this, it had to, germinate in my brain for probably 10 years, was Milton Erickson, the hypnotherapist. And I remember reading in David Gordon's book, The Phoenix, about Milton, and it talked about his strategies. And what Milton would do when he needed to help someone solve a problem is, he wouldn't say, what happened when you were a child? He wouldn't say, how do you feel about this? He would just bypass it all and say, what do I need to do to make the outcome I want to have happen automatically, so it happens on its own? And so someone would walk in and say, Milton, I'm drinking too much and I can't stop myself. And Milton would say, no problem. Drink all you want. But here's what we're going to do. Every time you want to drink, you have to walk 5 miles across town to the liquor store, have one drink, and then walk the 5 miles home. The person would say, okay, I can do that. And the first day they'd be like, I really need that drink. So they'd walk 5 miles to get the drink. They'd have a drink, and then they'd walk 5 miles home. Yeah, this is like, I don't know how long it takes to walk 5 miles, an hour and a half or something? And, in the process, they got their body moving, and the drinking problem went away. He didn't say, imagine yourself not drinking. He didn't say, resist it when it comes up. He set up the circumstances so that what he wanted to have happen would happen automatically. Have you ever heard me tell about the story about the woman with the space between her teeth that Milton worked with? Milton Erickson had a woman come into him and she said, Milton, I'm ugly and no men are attracted to me and I want to get married, but I can't, and I'm going to kill myself. And he said, okay, well, as long as you're going to kill yourself, you might as well enjoy your last few months. So, do you have any savings? And she said, yeah, I have a little bit of money in savings. He said, okay, well, you're kind of frumpy and you don't dress very well and you don't take very good care of yourself. So here's where you're going to go. Take that money and go spend it on yourself. Get some clothes that fit you, get a makeover, get your hair styled. And by the way, are there any men that you would feel attracted to, like you would want to marry? She said, yeah, there's this one guy at the office, but he doesn't ever even notice me. Well, as it turned out, this woman had a big space between her front teeth. Some people can whistle through it. And she was very self-conscious about it. And Milton said, that space between your teeth? Can you spit water out like some people can? Spit water? And she goes, oh, yeah, I can do that. I used to do that when I was a kid. And he said, great. Here's what I want you to do. Go get the makeover. Go get some clothes that fit. Go get your hair styled. And then the next time you see that man that you're attracted to at the office, take a mouthful of water at the water fountain and spit it out through your teeth at him. So she went and got a makeover, got some clothes that fit her, got her hair done, because she was going to kill herself anyway, and she might as well enjoy it. Took a mouthful of water, spit it at him, and he said, you little bitch! And he chased her around the office, and they wound up getting married. It's the short version of the story. What was Milton doing? He wasn't saying try harder. He wasn't saying, the problem is a motivation issue. He was setting up the conditions so what he wanted to have happen would happen automatically. So what are the conditions you need to set in your life so that what you want to have happen happens automatically? It is inevitable. It will happen. What do you need to set up? They may be setting up things that make you uncomfortable, that are going to hold you accountable, that are going to make you go through pain if you don't do them. I'll give you a little formula here. What's something, just in your mind right now, what's something that you'd like to do but you just kind of can't get yourself to do it? Let's say it's something that might be painful to even think about doing. Let's say, I can't get myself to go over and start a conversation. I'll start with like a little baby one. I can't get myself to go start a conversation with a woman that I don't know. Just can't get myself to do it. Why not? Well, because the pain I go through imagining being rejected and embarrassed is just too much. The formula is, what's something that would be more painful than that you will commit to endure if you don't go talk to the woman? You might decide that writing a check for $1,000 to a political party that you hate is more painful. And you might go to one of your friends and say, okay, this is it. I'm going to go over and I'm going to talk to that woman. Here's the check. If I don't do it right now, send the check over, and that's it. That might be it. This is called getting leverage on yourself, by the way. That's what Tony Robbins calls it, getting leverage on yourself, figuring out where the lever is. I had a conversation with someone that I love, someone that's close to me, about making money in business. And this person has never had success in business or financially. And this person said, I could do that if I wanted. And I said, I know you pretty well, and there are a lot of challenges that you have personally that you're not dealing with, and you would have to overcome those before you would be able to succeed in business. With what I know about business, I just don't think it could happen. And they said, no, I could do it if I wanted. I could make as much money as I wanted. I just don't want to play that game. In a lot of cases, we don't admit to ourselves just what we could or couldn't do. And by thinking that we could do it if we wanted, I could do this if I wanted, we excuse ourselves from making ourselves do it. That little I could if I wanted about ourselves, that's what prevents you from getting leverage on yourself. Because you say, I just don't want to bad enough. It's not that important. It's called throwing your hat over the fence, right? What's the fastest way to climb a fence? Throw your hat over first. So you have to climb it. So a few other ways to make things inevitable. Mentors. Getting a good mentor is one of the elements of making something inevitable. Someone who has been down the road, someone that you can talk to, someone who says, no, you're in the right place, just keep going, you're doing fine. Another one is a mastermind, a group of like-minded people who are also on the journey to get together with and talk about your challenges, your successes, see other people experiencing what you want to experience, see other people having the challenges, help other people along the way. Reference group, huge. That's what we're doing here, masterminding and reference grouping, getting surrounded by other people who are on this journey. This is not what's going on out in most of the world. Most people are not together in groups figuring out how to make their lives better. They're not together working on reaching common goals. This is very powerful, has a very powerful effect on the unconscious mind. I mentioned leverage, so rewards and punishments for yourself. Give yourself something positive if you do the thing. Put something negative or a penalty in place if you don't. it's such a tough one to put accountability in place for ourselves. And that's another one, is accountability is a big one. External accountability, just getting someone to hold you accountable. You'll notice that in a lot of religious conversion processes, one of the first things that you do is you publicly announce your transformation. You make a public commitment. There's a form of accountability there, right? You don't want to look stupid in front of the group, so now you have to get into it. Well, you can use that yourself. You can ask people to hold you accountable. You can go to other people that are in your life and say, I'm going to do this, and I want you to hold me accountable. And again, if you really want to take it to the next level, you add some kind of a reward or a penalty. The penalty is the good one. That's the one that makes you do it. You will resent it, them, you'll hate it when it's happening. But all you got to do is get yourself doing it every day for a while, and eventually you'll build the routine, and it will become easy. One of the guys that works with me on my team, he gave one of the other people that works on my team a check, and he said, here's a check for $100. Put this in your wallet. It's made out to you. I'm going to email you every day with my accountability, every single day. If you do not have it in the morning when you check your email, go directly to the bank and cash the check, and the money is yours. Okay, that's it. The check is already written. It's in the wallet of the other person, waiting to be cashed. Very powerful. A great way to make things inevitable. So I ask you, what is something that you need to make inevitable in your life? What is a behavior, an outcome that you need to make inevitable for yourself? You need to step up to the next level and say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this thing inevitable. It's not just enough to set goals. It's not just enough to set problems. I must make this inevitable. I will put whatever conditions in place required to make this inevitable. Who's got something that they've been wrestling with for a little while that they really want to make inevitable? 2 people? 4 people. Awesome. Who's got something that they want to make inevitable in their life? If you're not raising your hand, I'm concerned. Okay, good. Who would like to do a little bit of work with me on this one? You? You want to come up here? What would you like to make inevitable in your life?
To have a healthy life that I can bring someone else into.
Have a healthy life. Let's get specific. What does healthy life mean to you? Which element of health is the most important?
I think, like Stephen Covey talks about sharpening the saw, the idea of doing the little maintenance in life that keeps your living space clean, your finances flowing. I find that I'm sort of so good with just going with the flow that I just let all sorts of roadblocks accumulate in my life till I get down to a trickle by the time I've actually completed my day.
So when I said let's get a little more specific, more than health, it went to everything. It sounded like.
Pretty much.
Let's zoom in on health, because that was the word you used.
Yeah, I think for me, I would say organization of my space and my time.
Okay, that was pretty specific. Also, so you don't mean physical health?
No, I'm okay physically. It's really I guess my state of mind is so overwhelmed by the disaster that my life is in terms of physical. Just stuff laying around and everything else.
So there are 2 elements you just shared. One is the state of mind. One is the physical reality. Which one do you think is more important?
Honestly, I think it's my state of mind, because if I walk into a room and I picture it clean, it's all of a sudden I have the positive energy to go there.
Bingo. It's not the stuff out there. The state of mind is the most important. So how would you describe your state of mind, generally?
I have 2 minutes of thought to anything I'm thinking about.
2 minutes max, huh? All over the place. We'll also talk a little bit more about this later in the program. Something I learned from Tony Schwartz, who wrote the book The Power of Full Engagement, is that the power, the great power of our mind is its ability to focus on one thing for an extended period of time. That is the great power of the mind. And we're screwing that up right now a lot. We're losing our greatest ability, power of focus on one thing. So what is one thing in your life, in your mind, in your experience, that is a high priority for you to focus on?
My kids.
Your kids? Yeah. Okay. And when you're with them, are you with them? Or are you thinking about a lot of other stuff? Or
I think that's a battleground for me right now.
Okay.
I really make an effort to be connected and present, and I also find my habit sort of always pulling me away from them.
That's a good one. So what's one thing you could do with your kids? Do you see them daily?
Pretty much.
Yeah? What's one thing that you could do with one of your kids, or how many kids do you have? Two. Do you usually do things with both of them together, or do you do
I try to mix it up.
You mix it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there one of them that you can think of that you have something, when you do it with them, it just enriches both of you and your relationship every time you do it, and your child just couldn't get enough of it, and it's healthy?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what is that thing? You share?
My son, Kieran, is fantastically, enthused about everything in life right now. He's going through that phase where he's reading every book he can get his hands on. So dialoguing with him about that and really taking the time to listen to what's exciting to him is something I really connect with.
So dialoguing with him about something that he's learning.
Something he's learning, yeah.
Okay. Do you do that one-on-one with him?
Every day.
Every day? Could you, how much time would you like to spend every day dialoguing with your son about what he's learning?
20 to 30 minutes, I think.
20 to 30?
Great, yeah, just really focused.
Have you ever spent 30 minutes with him just intentionally focused on doing that?
Yeah, he seems to really want to do it right before he goes to bed. And
Okay.
the few times that I've done it have been great experience.
Okay. So to be realistic, how many times a week could you do this? 5 times, 6 times? Could you do it every day?
I could do it every time that he's with me. I have him half the time, so I could do it every time.
Every time?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't imagine anything that I've heard that would be more fulfilling, more rewarding in the long term over life than spending 30 minutes with my son right before bed in focused, present dialogue about what he's learning, just for him. That sounds like a pretty
Yeah, it's
awesome
pretty
use of
deep.
time, right? Okay, so what could you do? Well, let's go back a little bit. Let's just back up a little bit. What would prevent you from doing that? What would happen in the course of normal life where you wouldn't do it?
I kind of run around with this state of anxiety that there's all these things that I need to complete that I'm not completing.
Okay.
So
We'll get to that a little bit later in the
yeah,
program
and
too.
I'm sure that will be there. This is a thing that runs across the spectrum of my life.
Uh-huh.
But and I see this in all relationships, but when I'm with him, what comes up is there's dishes in the sink. There's this business thing I've got to go handle. And so I find myself sort of trying to constrict my own experience of my time with him because I feel the sense of guilt about the things I haven't completed.
So let's move forward in life. How old's your son?
He's 5.
5? So in 20 years, your son's going to be 25. Okay? 20 years, I mean, who's starting to notice that 20 years ago wasn't that long ago? Yeah. So 20 years is going to be here soon. And whether or not you spent the time with him or not, 20 years is going to be here. Just for a moment, imagine if you don't do this every night for 20 years. What's your connection with him going to be like? How is his life going to be different? How will he be affected? And then just maybe get a feel for if you do it every night for 20 years, it's part of your routine, your ritual. And who knows, maybe it even evolves to the point when he gets older, you just keep doing it to the point when maybe when he's 25, you're still talking 3 or 4 nights a week.
Hopefully.
You know what I'm saying? And talking about what he's learning. Think about what the difference is going to be. So, is it worth it to do whatever it takes to figure out how to make yourself do this with him?
Honestly, what comes to me is that whole idea of the difference that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I was distracting myself going, well, I'm trying to provide a good life for him. I want to make sure he can do extracurricular I want to make sure he can dress and be cool to his friends. And I'd sort of put all those excuses over top of this connection time, and it's just like, those are meaningless compared to what I can give him talking to him. So thank you.
That's good. Well, we got to go to the next level here, okay? We got to figure out what
Awesome.
could you do in your life to make it so that when you think, I should go do the dishes, I should go pay attention to something else, because in the moment, you'll be like, well, he's right here. He'll be here tomorrow night. He's going to be here next week. He's going to be here for the next, 13 years or whatever. Tonight's not that important. What's something that would be extra motivating, let's just say, or inspiring, that you could have externally, that if you didn't do it that night, that you would need to go, that would just make it so that it was inevitable that you did it every night?
Be accountable to his mom
Okay.
and send her a check to hold on to.
For how much?
$1,000.
$1,000, huh?
Yeah, I think that would do it.
And how would you communicate to her that you got the job done every day?
I could just send her a text message.
A text? Would
Or
she
an email.
be cool with this?
Her greatest fear is that I'm going to abandon him.
Okay. So she's got a stake in this too. So would you be willing to say to her, every night that I have my son, I'm going to spend a minimum of 30 minutes, talking to him, going over things. And, you might want to build in, one night a month that you get to skip out, because who knows, you might be sick or an emergency comes up or there's something. But, would you be willing to give her a check for $1,000 and say, I'm going to text you every night for the next year? And every time I don't do it for the next year, I'm going to give you $1,000?
Absolutely.
And if she cashes the first check, are you willing to write another one to her?
Yep.
Good. Is this guy going to do the thing that he wants to do? Almost certainly. Thank you. That was good.
What's up, D?
How's it going?
I'm cool.
So talk to me.
Basically, I'm involved in a business venture in network marketing, and I feel that if I were to be prospecting and talking to people every single day, meeting new people, and engaging in the activities that I know I'm supposed to engage in order to be successful in it, that I would be on the right path to achieve my goals, to do what it is that I want to do. But for some reason, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it right now. I don't know, I guess I find excuses, that type of thing, so.
I know the world of which you speak. For one reason or another, I've been approached by a lot of folks that work in network marketing, and I've even done consulting for a company that sold their product via network marketing. So I know your world a little bit. And one of the things that I know is that, like you say, consistent prospecting over a period of years is what it takes to become financially independent in that world.
Right.
Right. The old numbers are: you show the idea to 10 people a week, 3 of them will come to work with you. One of them will just not even do anything. One of them will do okay, and one of them will probably be a superstar.
Right.
Those are kind of the numbers, right?
Right.
And it's getting yourself to get out and talk to those 10 people every
Consistently.
week. Right?
Sometimes I would do it a little bit and then stop, do it a little bit and then stop. It's not going to work that way.
Right. So, do you really believe in this opportunity?
Absolutely.
Will this
No
opportunity
doubt.
make the lives of other people better?
Definitely.
Okay.
First mine, and then my family and my friends. After them seeing my results, I think that'll probably motivate them to do better. I think so. And if it doesn't, then hey, at least I got mine.
How
think that's
many
important.
how many people do you need to talk to per week, per day, in your mind, in order for this to work for you?
I would say a minimum of 10 new people a week, minimum.
10 a week. How many days per week do you actively prospect and do this work?
Do I? Right now I kind of stopped. I'm in that stop phase, so I need to pick it up again. Yeah, pretty much.
When you're not in the stopped phase, when you're
Okay.
motivated,
Probably 3 or 4 people a week.
How many days per week?
How many days? Probably like 1 or 2 days.
1 or 2?
Right.
And how many days would you like to per week?
At least 5.
So you'd like to talk to maybe 2 people per day,
Actually,
5 days a
7,
week?
7, because there's
You need to take some time off.
yeah,
Yeah.
because there's this idea that that I've heard that it's called like lifestyling, like you kind of build it into your life. You're not like going out to
Of course.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you look at it that way, like you're not actually going out to do it. It's just wherever you are, if you see an opportunity, you take it. So I think that's a
I
little
understand.
different.
Yeah. Realistically, though,
Okay.
I don't really recommend you work more than. You need to take at least 1 day a week completely off of whatever your work is.
Okay.
That's just my perspective.
Okay.
I think it's healthy. Probably 2. It's better to get perspective on it. When you're always in something, you get too myopic and so forth. But how does 5 sound to you?
5 sounds
5
good.
sounds reasonable?
As
Okay.
a minimum, yeah, 5 sounds good.
Okay. And I'm just trying to help you, and I'm
Right.
not trying to direct you too much, but just want
Right.
to keep you healthy.
Cool.
You know?
Appreciate it.
So let's say 5 and 2 people per day. Those 5
Right.
days on average.
Right.
How long does it take you to find and then meet with and talk to each of these individuals?
Find, meet, and talk to them.
In other words, I don't know what your method is. Maybe you call people up and say, hey, do you know anyone that's interested in this? Maybe you generate leads online. Maybe you cold call. I mean, I don't know how you find these people, but how long does it take to find one?
To find one, basically a couple minutes, probably like 5 minutes, I would say, because mostly doing it at work, and I work as a waiter, in airports, so it's always a lot of people, new people, and, I'm pretty social, so I talk to the guests and everything. So I guess it wouldn't take that long, probably just a couple minutes, 5 minutes, something like that.
Fantastic. How long does it take to present your opportunity to them?
To present the opportunity. Well, we do it in steps, so basically it would just be originally asking them a question where, you're kind of seeing if they're at all open to any.
I mean
type
the
of-
one-on-one where you actually show them the whole thing.
The whole thing? Okay, how long
Yeah.
that part of it takes?
Hour, 2, 5? How long does it take? Walk them through it.
I would say half an hour to an hour.
Okay. Let's say an hour.
An hour.
Okay. So it takes 5 minutes to find them, an hour to do the presentation.
Right.
So that's, you're talking about 3 hours a day between finding them, setting the appointment, getting them on the phone, doing the presentation. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Right? Do you have 3 hours a day?
Definitely.
You do? When?
Well, Monday through Wednesday, I pretty much have the whole day for that because I don't work on that day. I kind of reserved it for that type of thing.
Yep.
Then I work Thursday through Sunday, and Thursday through Sunday, I could do it after work or before work. I could find the time.
You could do it before work?
Right.
Okay. If this is a priority for you, I recommend that you do it earlier in the day.
Early.
The higher the priority, the earlier in the day. Why? Because as you get into your day, it starts to suck all of your time, energy, and life.
Diminishing intent, right?
Diminishing intent. Yes. Never heard the term, but I like it. So what you might want to do is ask yourself, what is the time block? What is the 3-hour time block that I can work on this opportunity? Can you take Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday completely off to just have fun, relax, enjoy your life?
Definitely.
Which one?
All of them. I could.
Let's pick one.
Pick one?
Sounds like you already are.
I'd pick Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay, good. Do you have some great stuff you could do on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Just chill out, relax?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So do that. So then maybe take the other 6 days and find 5 of them that are good, and choose 3 hours. Now, if you're prospecting at work, you obviously need to do it then, okay?
Right.
But if you're doing your presentation times, I'd pick 2 1-hour chunks that are the first 2 hours of your work day. You actually need to take care of yourself first thing when you wake up, by the way. But 90 minutes after you wake up, 2 hours after you wake up, after you're finished making yourself strong and healthy and making yourself aware, spend that first 2 hours of your work time every day doing 2 one-hour appointments with prospects. Could you do that?
Yes.
Five times a week?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say 10 years from now in your life. How will your life be different in 10 years if you speak to 2 people a day for 1 hour and you explain this opportunity to them versus if you just keep working at the airport for 10 years?
Drastically different. I would be financially free. I would, wake up whenever I want to wake up, do the things I want to do, have my freedom, but at the same time, be happy, go out and have the money to do the things that I want to do, travel, all this type of thing, get, the cars that I want, the house, everything, and basically be a role model for my family because that's very important. Retire my grandmother, that type of thing.
So it's important to do this.
Definitely.
Now, in 2 weeks, in 3 months, when you wake up on a Monday and you worked all weekend and you're tired and you're thinking, you know what, I just want to do something other than talk to these 2 people. In that moment, you're going to look at those 2 blocks of time and you're going to think, these are not that important in the big scheme. Okay, between now and 10 years, it doesn't matter whether I do these 2. Okay, I can do 4 tomorrow. Okay, or I can just skip these 2 and it's no big deal. Your mind is going to come up with a million reasons why these 2 particular ones just don't matter that much.
Right.
Or even maybe the first one. You know what, I'm going to skip the first one. I'll do the second one. And then when you get to the second one, you'll be like, you know what, I already blew off the first one. I'll blow the second one off too. Because it doesn't matter that much. The one thing just doesn't matter.
Right.
What could you put in place so that it becomes inevitable, so that you absolutely do that on that Monday when you wake up and you're looking at it and you're like, what is something that is a much bigger thing to move away from that will make you look at that thing and go, maybe you're not even looking forward 10 years and thinking about the house and the car and the family and the grandma. Maybe you're just thinking, if I don't do this one, I got to deal with that, and it's easier for me to do this.
Something to compel me.
What would it be?
The thing that first popped into my head was sabotaging my credit, but I don't know if that's too harsh.
It's an interesting thought.
I don't know. That just popped. That was the only thing I could think of when I was sitting down. I don't know if that sounds healthy at all, but
It's an interesting one. I might want to pick a little more of a short-term thing that doesn't have such long-term implications, although I admire where you're going here on it. What's something you really don't like doing a lot?
oh man, cleaning the bathroom. Because
Cleaning the bathroom?
I live with roommates, my cousin and his girl, so cleaning the bathroom, after the
Who cleans the
day's done.
bathroom?
Huh?
Who cleans the bathroom typically?
I usually, but I hate it because sometimes it gets so bad, just got to do it.
But you already do it.
Yeah, but infrequently,
Infrequently?
it gets real bad, and then I'm like, I can't take this anymore.
We need something that you don't normally do. We need
Okay.
something that you do, Clean all your friends' bathrooms?
Wow.
That's an interesting idea. It's a good brainstorm. Would that bum you out to clean your friends' bathrooms?
Definitely.
Would they like that?
And my mom's bathroom.
Huh.
Oh man.
That's interesting. Okay, I like where this is going.
Okay.
If you woke up on a Monday morning, and I can tell you don't like where this is going. This is good. If you woke up on a Monday morning, and you looked at making your 2 prospecting calls for that day, and showing the opportunity to 2 people, and you're like, I just don't really feel like doing it today, and you had committed that if you didn't do 2 of them 5 times per week, that you were going to go over that week and clean the bathrooms of 3 of your friends and your mom that week, and you were going to do it every single week that you didn't make your 10 calls, would that do the trick? Would that be so that you were like, I'm definitely going to be taking this 2 hours this morning and making it happen?
I think that'll definitely do it.
That would do it, huh?
I think so.
Okay. So what steps would you have to take to make that commitment? And will these people hold you accountable? Will they take you up on the bathroom cleaning?
My mom, yeah, my cousin definitely. My cousin put the pressure on, definitely.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then how can you update them to make sure that...
I live with him, so, you know.
Okay.
I just knock on his door, or he'll just be there, so he'll know.
We need 3 of them. Your
My
mom,
mom.
your cousin, and one more, a friend.
My mom.
Who's someone in your life?
My aunt.
Your aunt?
Yeah. No, that one's always clean.
We need someone who you admire in your life and who you wouldn't want to let down. How about your grandmother?
My grandmother. And yeah, that bathroom. Oh man, that bathroom's horrible. That has to be the bathroom. It has to be one of them. That bathroom
You
is
come from a
terrible.
long line of nasty bathrooms.
That bathroom's terrible.
Okay. So would you be willing to write on a piece of paper, make a commitment to each of them? This is what I'm going to do to better myself and ultimately to better all of us.
Right.
And this is what I need to do. I need to do this every single week. 2 hours, 5 times a week. Now, here's what I'm going to recommend to you. I recommend that you do this, you try this one for 90 days to see if it works for you.
Okay.
13 weeks. Can you do this for 13 weeks?
Yes.
13 weeks. That's the commitment you're going to make to them.
Yes.
And then you're going to renew it if you want to keep going.
Whoa.
Because the problem that we run into is we get some leverage on ourselves and we make ourselves do the thing for a while, but then we stop and we fall off the wagon. And then we say, I don't really want to go do that thing again. Okay? But I want you to try this and see if it works. But then you have to renew it. You have to promise you're going to renew it if it works.
Right.
Can you do that?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, so you're going to write 3 letters. You're going to make 3 commitments. Your mom, your cousin, and your aunt. I say aunt, but...
Grandma. Yeah, my aunt's bathroom's clean. So.
Oh,
aunt, cousin, grandma.
Aunt, cousin, grandma.
What was it now? I forgot. You mix me up, Dave. Why'd you do it?
3. We need 3 bathrooms here, and I'm getting confused. I'm imagining. I don't even know what I'm imagining.
So.
Mom.
Yeah.
Grandma. Cousin.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 bathrooms.
That's it.
Will you write out on 3 pieces of paper? Will you sit down? Will you explain what we talked about here and say, "I'm going to let you know every day"? How are you going to let each of them know? Email?
Give 'em a phone call.
Do they all have email?
No, not my grandmother. She doesn't use a computer. But she lives upstairs, so I could just go up there. My cousin and
You're cheating. It's all the same bathroom, isn't it?
No.
Okay, cool. All right. Good.
And who's the other person? My mom. My mom, I could just call her.
Okay. So here's what you're going to do. For the first 10 of these, you're going to update them every day.
Okay.
Does that make sense? How about for the first 2 weeks? First 10. First 10 days you're doing it, you're going to update each of them every day. And then for the next 11 weeks, you're going to update them weekly. You're going to call and you're going to tell them what you did. And if you let them down, you're going to go over and clean all their bathrooms every week if you have to for 13 weeks.
Got to do it.
Are you going to do it?
I'm going to do it. Let's make it happen.
All right.
That's it.
Give me that. I want you 2 guys, by the way, to have this done before we leave here. Before this program is over. You need to report back that you did it. You with me? All right. Nice. All right, now how can you make your outcome inevitable? It's your life. Are you willing to get leverage on yourself? Are you willing to admit that maybe you need to go a little further than I'd really like to do it? Who's willing to admit that they might need to go a little further than I'd really like to do it? Okay, good. Throw your hat over the fence. Make yours inevitable. Come up with something. Don't go too far. Don't get crazy. You're not looking for something that's going to be like, I'm going to have someone come over and shoot my animal in front of me and then pull my toenails out with pliers. What you're looking for is that that single thing so that it's just a little bit more painful or a little bit more rewarding. But let's start with the motivation of moving away from. It's a little bit more, so when I look at it and I go, you know what, I don't really want to make those calls, you go, clean 3 bathrooms. That's not what I want to do. Okay? It's a little bit more. So do that now.